Volleyball Podcast. My name is Mark Burrick, and today we are going to talk to somebody who has played indoor at the highest level and has had little tastes of beach volleyball along the way. He has his own coaching company. It seems, if you look at his Instagram, it seems like he's coaching almost nonstop. Uh, and he's one of our nation's top athletes. And it's going to be interesting to talk, I think, about what it's like to try to get into beach as a high level indoor player, to hear about the differences and his experience in going both routes, because he's got height, he's got jump, he's got ball control, he's got all the tools you need to be a great indoor or beach player. And he has also done all of his, I guess we'll say, he's done his rounds in the coaching world as well. So this is going to be someone that we can talk to and we can learn a lot from the beach side, from the indoor side, from the experience side, from the coaching side, from the club side, from the international side. Uh, I'm actually really excited about this talk. So our guest today, he's got experience playing overseas. He's played in over 10 different countries. He's coached with multiple club teams, and he's earned top five finishes in the Junior Olympics, JOs. And we're going to have some real rare experience that I can't wait to pull from. So I would love for you guys to take a deep dive with us and listen to this conversation and get a lot out of it. Let's welcome our guest, KJ Kristopher Johnson. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Mark? How's it going? How's it going? Better at Beach Fam. How you guys doing? And thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, definitely, dude. I want to dive kind of right into where you started, when you started volleyball, and what were you playing first? Were you playing indoor? Were you playing beach?
Um, that's a good question. I actually started playing indoor. Um, I probably picked up a volleyball first time in eighth grade. There was like open gym volleyball, and I didn't actually even play. I literally just walked in the gym, kind of picked up a volleyball, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And ended up going into ninth grade and trying out for the ninth grade team in high school, and ended up making the team. And I guess the rest is history. I kept playing for 15, 16 years,
what do you,
right?
what do you think? So for me, like I played one year of high school, my junior year of high school, and
Yeah.
I think one of the this might sound weird, but one of the main reasons that I got into volleyball was the coach, the high school coach. First of all, he was a gym teacher. He was one of the cool teachers, so we got along really
No
well
doubt.
before that. But he
Yeah.
he played music in the gym. None of the other
Oh, nice.
teams played like music, but he had music going nonstop, so it looked like practices were fun, And I was like,
Yeah.
man, I kind of want to be in that vibe. So
Check that
ended
out.
up trying out and making it. But for you, what was what was the first attraction to volleyball?
Um, Personally, I was still searching for I guess how you could say it, my sport. So I had grown up, I had tried baseball, I had tried a little bit of basketball, I had played football, I had done track, I had done a bunch of sports when I was in middle school before I had even gotten to high school.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm just gonna do something that I'm kind of interested in, and then I'm gonna see where that takes me. So that was basically it. I was like, this is my next sport, and it was just something that I really wanted to try and see what happens, and ended up volleyball during high school, almost the entire 4 years.
There wasn't like any moment or any feeling. I mean, for me, like I played baseball and football, so
Yeah,
compared to a bunch of other high school athletes, I probably had a good arm, right? And I
yeah,
went into the gym and I messed around with the volleyball guys, and I hit
yeah,
a few and I mashed the back wall, like I
yeah.
detonated, and it just went boom. And all the kids on the team were like, "Sick, dude, you hit so hard!" And my coach was like,
Yeah,
"This kid's an idiot. Like it's got to go
yeah.
in.
Gotta go
That
inside
doesn't
the
matter."
court, man. You can't just hit the ball to the wall.
But like all the guys on the
um,
team, they were telling me, like, so that gave me confidence because they're like, "Yo, you can hit," and I said, "All right." Cool.
Yeah,
And so I think that gave me confidence to keep going. But did you ever have a
yeah.
feeling in the sport or like an interaction with an individual that pulled you?
Um, to be honest, like I was somebody who was never really good at sports. And
Mm.
so the only reason like I was in sports was because I love sports overall. Like I really like going to practice, I like training, I like trying to get better. And there wasn't like a turning point. Like I didn't really start to get those turning points that you're talking about until I got in college.
Oh,
So I
late
was I was
bloomer.
just somebody, yeah, I was super I am probably one of the latest bloomers that you ever met. And like I didn't have those like turning points until I got to college. So everything in high school was just like just playing because I really enjoyed playing sports. Like there wasn't anything else to it. I was not extraordinary at anything. I wasn't good at anything. Like I wasn't a good player.
Mm.
So
Were you the not good player that pro athletes talk about when they say not good player? Like, were you still above average, instead of just excellent? Because I consider, when I tell the story, I'm like, yeah, I wasn't a great athlete. I didn't jump high, but when I compared myself to almost everybody else, there were
yeah,
like four athletes on each team that were probably
yeah,
better than me, you know,
yeah,
so I consider myself now like, nah, I wasn't one of the best, but I
yeah,
was one of the above average guys. Were
yeah.
you one of the above average guys, or were you down there?
No, yeah, I was down. So I'm telling you right now. So like, volleyball as a freshman I played, but I was the worst player. I didn't have any skill. I was probably one of the worst players. Even going through JV, even being in varsity, like I was told I wasn't gonna be a starter. I was one of the worst guys on the team. I would always work hard. I would never quit. And it was the same on the football team. Like
Mhm.
I wasn't the starter. Like I was coming in off the bench. I was like the sixth or seventh receiver on the roster. Like truthfully, I was either the worst player or I was just above the worst player like my entire high school career. And that's why most of the time people like have no idea of who I am or who I was as I came up through high school. Like I was literally like the bottom player.
What made you keep going? A lot of people, when they don't, when they're getting dogged, or it's not, I don't know, you don't feel that confidence.
Yeah,
What keeps you going in those moments when you're like, yeah, everybody's better than me, and I don't know if I'm going to get better? Some people just drive,
yeah,
they just keep going.
yeah,
Some people want to be there just because they want to be there. But what kept you
yeah.
going in sport?
And I definitely agree with what you're saying 100%. I don't think most people do like want to stay in something that they don't prove to be good at early.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it was my probably my parents. Like my parents always pushed, and they always were motivating of me. And like if I wanted to do anything, they were always behind me. And for me, it was strictly like we say football for sure. Football was love. Like I grew up loving football since I was probably like I don't know 7 years old. My parents always watch NFL,
Mm.
and was always a fan of basketball as well. So for football, for sure, was drive. For volleyball, it like kind of that second sport that I also enjoyed doing, but it wasn't anything other than just liking to play. Like there was nothing else to it, and I was like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna stay in it. And I know for you, you played football too. You know how hard it is to play football. Football is an absolute grind, and just that motivation to just keep playing no matter what. I didn't care about being a good player. I just cared about playing.
Isn't that, don't you find that, like, because you coach a lot, right? You run a lot of private
Yeah,
lessons. Your website's, it's
for sure.
chrisjohnson.com, right?
Yeah, ChristopherAJohnson.com puts everything in. But
Cool.
yeah, I do a lot of lessons, a lot
So
of coaching now.
doesn't it kind of blow your mind? Because I feel like I'm the same way, where I didn't play. I played sports to play sports. Like, it was just
Yeah,
fun. It was just what you want to do. And then once
yeah,
you're in it, you're like, well, if I want to get good, I gotta work hard. But I
for
I
sure.
volunteered for every single one, and my parents, they were always just okay, okay. Like, I'm
Yeah,
blessed with great parents. They drove me wherever I wanted to drive. I pick up a new sport and like,
yeah.
all right, hop in the minivan. Like,
All
let's
right,
go. Um,
let's do it.
but I feel like so many players, I don't. and maybe I'm being too tough on juniors, but they're not
Yeah.
playing just because they raised their hand and said, "Please let me go to this. Let me join this."
Yeah.
What are you finding in the juniors world and in your private lessons? Are you finding that they're placed there by parents, or are they the ones that are showing up and saying like, "I want to be here just because I want to be here"?
I would say it's split. Maybe it's, I don't know, 40, 60, 60, 40 or something like that, of like kids 100% want to be there, and then others are kind of pushed by their parents to be
Mm,
excellent, or to just be in sports in general. And like you said, we just played because we really wanted to play. And then if we wanted to get better, we knew we had to work harder in order to do that. Now I think it's the athletes are probably more just involved in social media, and they kind of just do sports as like a side thing.
hmm,
And so you don't I haven't really seen a bunch of athletes who kind of have that grit. That's like, no, I'm gonna stay in it and I'm gonna push hard and I'm gonna continue to improve even though I'm not the best athlete on the court. And then I think the other side is like, a lot of athletes want to just give it to them. They're like, I want to be the starter, so the coach just start me, you know?
hmm. That's I always wonder if like here's one of my theories. I think a lot of the higher level athletes stick with the sport longer. They develop a passionate
Yeah,
relationship with it, and they end up
yeah,
being coaches because they love it so much. But that love was like lifelong, So they were the guys
yeah,
who were the guys and girls who were working hard and who were spending the extra hours, and because of that, they did develop a closeness with the sport. And I
100%.
wonder because you always hear coaches talking about like athletes these days, were maybe all the coaches, all the ones saying that were the, 5% of athletes that were always
Yeah,
passionate, always pushing themselves. So maybe
yeah,
it always existed, but the people
yeah,
who have the microphone are the ones that were always the ones giving it all anyway.
yeah. And I think there's two sides of that as well. There's the side where you had the naturally gifted athletes who were the early athletes. They were usually better than most, and then
Mm.
it makes it very easy to kind of fuel the drive to be better. And then there's the other
Oh,
side, the athletes that weren't as good, but they decided to grind to see how far they could push, not being naturally as talented in the sport, you know?
yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, because if you're good at it right away, you're just going to be kind of attracted to it.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
easy to stay.
Yeah.
Easy.
It's easy
And
to stay
so
when you got a
I
starting
train I
role
train a
off the
lot of
bat.
athletes. Yeah, exactly. And I train a lot of athletes like that who are already good, or they're on the cusp of like right before they're about to be really good. And I remember not being that athlete for 5 or 6 years. Like most of my life, I wasn't that guy. So I see both sides.
Do you think any one of them works harder? Like, if you had to put a stat on it, do you think that the ones who are gifted early and recognize that they're gifted early, or everybody else is, do you think that they're putting in more work? Or do you see that the guys who are riding the edge, like the middle athletes who could be good if they pushed extra, are
Yeah.
they working harder or showing up more? Do you notice any differences like that?
Um, I think that there's a lower percentage of athletes who are actually gifted and good who are trying to put in that extra time. I usually see the
Really?
athletes who are on
Damn.
the cusp putting in more work.
Dang.
So that's just the way that I see it. I can't quantify it in like percentages, but I definitely think that if you're already gifted, I don't think you're putting in as much work. But I do have a few athletes who are doing that though, like who
Yeah.
are gifted and are also grinding hard.
That's that's a tough line to ride, and trying to figure out how to. Well, because as a good coach, right? You got to motivate people in different ways. The great coaches.
Yeah,
I was just watching some movie last night. I forget what movie, but they talked about, you know, oh, you always have to find an angle. So sometimes a
yeah,
great coach has to be completely silent to get through to somebody. Sometimes they have to scream to get through to somebody. But the
Yeah.
word was that there's always it's that Uber docudrama, the one with the coach from
Oh,
Friday Night
okay.
Lights and
Yeah.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. But as a CEO,
Yeah.
he says there's always an angle, not hey you got to
Hmm.
yell at people, not you have to be silent with people and let them do their thing, but the
Yeah.
angle. And it's always interesting to find the different angles that you need for every different, not even different type of athlete, but every different athlete.
Everyone. Every athlete is completely different. That's one of the things that I've noticed, either about coaching teams or about coaching one on one. Some athletes, like, you actually got to get down on them in order for them to actually push. There are other athletes that you can't say that much to them. You just need to say a few things and then they'll turn. But
Mm.
every single athlete on your team is different, and you got to find a way to communicate to get the best out of them, for sure. More individual.
As a club coach, did you here's what I went through. I don't know if you went through the same thing, but I went through this probably confident arrogance, whatever you want to call it, where I was like, I know a lot more than them. This is going to be my
Yeah.
system. If you don't fit into my system, it's not going to work. Later,
Yeah.
I stopped that. I stopped the Bobby Knight nonsense, of like you got to subscribe to my to my stuff. And I was like, listen,
To
if I'm
my
going to get through
system.
to maximize, I'm I'm going to have certain things that I allow, certain things that I don't allow, but I can't just act my way all the time. If I'm going to be a true leader, I have to figure
Yeah.
out what each segment on my team needs. Did you
Yeah.
did you go through that mental process? Because I went through it and it was weird, but I don't know if everybody goes through it.
Um, yeah, I think I've mostly been assisting, but I've been head coaches at times, and I don't think my one way was always the one way, because I saw so many different athletes, and also the way that they play. And so I think that's what, like, helps me with private coaching, is I'm actually coaching you from literally where you are and the way that. So if we're talking about a certain skill, I'm always looking at, okay, well, do you do this thing that I may not like with that skill, but does it work? And
Mm,
if it works, there's a low chance that I'm gonna try to fix it or critique it that much. But if you do something in a certain way and it's your way, it's different than my way, and it doesn't work, then I'm probably going to push more to make a change so we can get a better result.
got it. So it's kind of like Try talks about this with the Brazilian coaches, where he's just
Yeah.
Brazilian is reps and feeling.
Hmm.
And a
Yeah.
few of the Brazilian coaches have said, like, we don't change something until it stops working or it presents like a cap. Like
Yeah.
once it's limiting, that's when we'll discuss it. But until then, if you can feel the right thing and make it go to the right
Yeah.
place, they say that they don't comment on it. And that's why we get like people who like
Yeah.
with their forearm grip, they'll open one hand and keep the other one. That's why like April Ross has that giant stomp approach, and people have
Yeah.
all different weird. Phil's got a goofy foot approach, right? And you,
Yeah.
you say like, hey, we should change that, but the dude's siding out at 800, so
You
why?
don't touch it. Yeah. You don't freaking touch it, man.
Yeah.
And that I totally agree with that. I've seen a bunch of different things. I've seen people stand up, like, when they pass, or people finish weird with their hands when they set, but the ball isn't spinning and it's going to the right place. So I don't really try to touch too much of what's working, even if it's not textbook, because you can
Hmm.
look at any sport and see a lot of people do a lot of weird techniques. I don't know if you watch basketball, but the way Sean Marion used to shoot, or the way other basketball players shoot, it's so weird, but they get the ball to go in the basket. So you're like, you're going to change their shot release even though they're shooting 40% from beyond the arc? Like,
Right.
I don't like to change what works. I will change it if it's not working to make it more traditional. Like, each
Okay.
player, I'm always watching that stuff.
Okay. Did you have any like kinks like that in your game? Where people were like, "Hey, man, you should change this," and either you fought against it or you did change it.
Um, I think Yeah, I think I changed like the way that I was approaching to the ball. So like there were times I didn't use my arms enough when I'd approach the ball, and so I did actually need to make that adjustment because it did like allow me to jump higher. It allowed me to be more dynamic when I would hit the ball. So like my approach when I'm throwing my arms back, I actually did a lot of work in changing that,
Hmm.
and then changing the way that I served as well. I just wanted to have a more consistent serve, and the critiques that the coaches gave me did actually work. And then like I pushed against a lot of my coaches because I'm naturally individual in the way that I see things in the way that I work, but
Mm.
it's very hard personally for me to change if there's not enough evidence or explanation behind why the change needs to happen.
You're that type. You're like the cerebral athlete. Like, give me
Yeah,
the why, and I'll go and do
yeah,
it. Instead of some
yeah,
some athletes are just like straight up soldiers, where it's like, what do I need to
yeah.
do? Done. Okay, and they'll go
Okay,
bang their head
yeah.
against the wall for 10 minutes, and it's like,
Is
am I good yet?
that
Want
good?
10 more minutes? Like,
So yeah, I mean, were you that same way, or was it different for you?
uh, I needed a lot of why, but I was always kind of
Yeah,
interested in learning. So
yeah,
I feel like for me, anytime a coach gave me a correction, I was like, thank you. I
yeah,
craved it. I don't know
yeah,
why, but I never thought I was doing anything right. I was
yeah,
like, I do feel slower. I do feel like I should jump higher, hit harder, or be better. I always
yeah,
felt like my game was lacking. So I was like, dude,
yeah.
if you're gonna pay attention to me enough to fix something, that's me getting a private lesson. I
You'll
never
take it. Yeah, you'll
had a
take it.
private lesson as a kid. I I'm trying to think if I ever got a private lesson, before being like before individuals in college. And individuals is not
Yeah,
even a private lesson. You're still there with 3 or 4 people. I'm pretty sure I have
it's true.
never, as a kid under 18, never had a private lesson, which is kind of
To be
bonkers.
completely honest, like I didn't either. I didn't either. Like I didn't get my first private lesson until I was like 19, 20 years old, legit. So I completely agree with you there. I did not get one.
Oh,
Um, but also I didn't play club sports either. So I think that's
same.
part of the reason why.
I
Yeah.
played like one travel team in baseball from little league, but I mean, I you're not calling that the club sports of today. There was a very different
No,
thing about club sports.
no.
It's changed into something that I kind of think is a little dangerous, and maybe not dangerous, but overboard. Like way
Sports
too
is
much
different this year.
money.
It's
Yeah.
it's different. It's definitely year round. Like that was one of the things where it wasn't like that for us. Like I don't remember ever playing a sport year round. I
No
always played
way.
multiple sports. So I never played one sport like a full year. I don't remember ever doing that. So
Yeah.
now it's like you will play volleyball or basketball or whatever it is like 11 months out of the year. You just keep going.
That's wild. Like I would
It's
okay,
a
so I
different
would
game.
play basketball year round, but not on a team. I had 3
Exactly.
months in the fall, winter, somewhere around there, and then
Yeah.
that was it. But like I was still going in my backyard. I was still going to all my parks and playing. So I just
Yeah.
played whatever sport I could whenever I could. And if it turned into like,
Yeah.
hey, we're playing basketball today, or no, we're gonna go break into the little league park today so we can play football. Like, all right,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing.
All right, cool, whatever you want to do. Like, and I feel like that's an important part that I think is missing more. I feel like a lot of a lot of athletes and maybe even their parents want to specialize so quickly. They want to specialize so early. And I usually tell them, I'm like, no, like go play multiple sports. Like you want to figure out what you like, but also you want to get the cross training. You want to train in different skills so then you can use those in the sport that you finally decide to stick with full time.
And have
So
some liberty to be
volleyball is good college.
creative.
Yeah.
Like that's my big thing is if somebody, so let's say you get stuck with, or not stuck, maybe sometimes it could be a blessing, but you get a
Yeah.
coach who is, hey, it's my way. Hey, you have to drive this technique. Sure, okay, they might make you have perfect technique, but
Yeah.
when are you permitted to just explore different things. Be creative, be stupid,
Yeah.
practice your half court like buzzer beater shots.
Yeah.
I think that that's without any stats or science behind it. That's got to be important to allow creativity and exploration.
Yeah. And I think I would say that happens more now as players start to play beach volleyball more, because you don't see a lot of that indoors, because a lot of indoor volleyball is very controlled
Mm,
by the coaches and staff and stuff like that. And I think you notice it obviously the most in basketball, because most basketball players grow up playing like street ball and stuff. So there's no
yeah,
coach there. They get to be as creative as they want. They get to take the half court shot like you're saying, and there's no repercussion for it. They just like get to figure out if they can do it or not, or if it's cool, you know?
right. Yeah. Like, would the professor still have a YouTube channel if he like if he had like all
Heck
standard
no.
moves and he wasn't able to teach people what he was doing? It was
Yeah,
literally all
no
creativity and
way.
making stuff up.
No way. You make stuff up at the park and there's nobody to tell you that you can't do it. You just go do whatever the heck you want, you know?
Yeah. I don't know.
And
I'm
that's the
worried,
beach.
and I think there are some beach coaches and club directors worried. We had Phil on an episode a couple episodes ago,
Yeah,
and he was like, "We are not a club. It's the Phil Dalhauser Beach Volleyball Academy." He goes,
yeah,
"We teach people to play beach volleyball. We
yeah,
create leagues. We create classes, but we're not a club." He goes, "I
yeah,
do not like or want the indoor club environment infiltrating beach volleyball." And it is
yeah,
starting to in a lot of places where it's parents are getting more involved. They're getting chatty. They're trying to ref. They're complaining to the refs. And it's just like,
yeah,
man, this is what made beach so good because it was an escape and you could be individual, you could be unique.
yeah.
I'm a little stressed about
It,
that, but it is turning out ridiculously good female beach volleyball players. Guys, we
oh,
still
it's
we still
great
got
volleyball,
nothing.
man. It's great volleyball, man. I don't know. I don't know if it is whatever they call it, the Title IX, where you gotta like have, I guess, equality. I guess it's I don't know exactly if it's equality in numbers in sports or whatever.
Equal funding dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess because of that, it's hard to get like a men's beach program off the ground. I mean, it's hard enough to get men's indoor programs off the ground, which there are way more than there were like 10 years ago, which is really nice. But as far as girls volleyball, it's huge. You have girls volleyball like at every high school, every college in the country. So there's a bunch of opportunities. And now that you got beach, man, you got girls playing beach since they're like 8 or 9 years old, and they're coming into your CBVA tournament beating the adults. It's stupid now.
Oh
So
man.
it's gonna be crazy once we start talking about like who's really gonna be going to the Olympics, because they're coming all the way from 9 years old all the way through high school and the club beach and college beach. They get to go all the way through until you get to AVP, you know?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be crazy. I'm excited to see
I know. It's
it.
like there's so many good ones and so many unique games, like unique
Yeah,
styles of play. Because you got like Nuss, who's 5'6", and then her partner who's 6'4", Cloth, right?
massive,
Yeah,
massive.
and they're playing a completely different game than like Kelly Clays, who's playing a completely
100%.
different game than like Jace Pardon was playing, and you got
Yeah,
all these girls who can just win in AVP with completely different styles of play and sizes and
no
shapes and
one way.
everything. It's sick.
There's no one way anymore.
I'm
It
hoping
used to
that that
be just
comes
that one
from.
way.
I'm hoping that that comes from maybe our generation of coaches that are like,
Yeah,
nah, we should still explore. We should still let people be individual because that's what beach is about. I wonder, like, if
yeah.
in 15 years, all coaches will be so systemized and hardcore, like indoor has or had become. And yeah, that's going to be interesting to see if that freedom of expression still stays in beach. I hope it does. I think it should.
I I want, yeah, I definitely want there to be more freedom, because I've already like just to see now beach evolve, like everybody is now jump hand setting, which is completely changing the game, you know. That's a
Yeah.
completely different thing that wasn't even on the table before. It was hard enough to step in and hand set. Now they're like, no, we're gonna jump hand set. We can hit it, we can set it, we open up the net for everybody. just that type of creativity has changed the game massively, and I'm excited to see more of it. I think that's going to change the international game, but also it makes us super competitive as a country.
Oh yeah, and I wonder what rules are gonna end up changing or being altered. Like now you like
We'll see
the
about
hand
that.
setting, which has been a little ridiculous, especially since they don't
Oh
involve
man,
the players in any of the discussions. Like, hey,
no,
should we change the hand setting rules? At least ask the players, hey, do you think we should
yeah,
change the hand setting rules? Like, who are you? Why are we making all these decisions without any involvement of the player committee and say
yeah,
nobody's saying like, no, we have to completely revolutionize the way we call handsets. No player
yeah.
that I've talked to has ever said that. Like, so
I
why did it
feel
happen this
yeah,
year?
and I feel like I don't know. I just feel like it's completely subjective the way that they call hands, and
Yeah.
I feel like if you go and talk to refs, you'll just get completely different answers, which is always like one of the most frustrating parts for me when it came to trying to learn how to handset. I'm like, okay, well, what exactly are you looking for? Are you looking for multiple things? And I got multiple answers from different refs, which is highly frustrating.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a weird,
So
weird
there's not
subjective
one
rule.
way. Yeah, super subjective.
I wonder if
So
basketball went through that with dribbling. Like for sure it did. The first time somebody kind of like
without a doubt.
palm the side of the ball, everybody's like, "What was that?"
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
it's like they're holding it for 3 steps and then bouncing it. But
You can do
yeah,
whatever you want.
it'll
You can do whatever you want now.
pretty
And
much.
your caliber of player decides what they'll call.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So that's the most interesting. That's also very subjective as well. It's like your regular player will get called for everything, and your
Mm.
really amazing player won't get called for very much.
That's the funny part about playing amateur and pro tournaments. Like we're playing on the
Yeah.
AVP, and then we'll go to Wapaka or Pottstown,
Yeah.
and everybody's like,
Yeah.
"God, that's a double! That's crazy!" And you're like, "I haven't been called for a set in 5 tournaments. Like that
Yeah.
is, you guys are
Literally.
calling a way different game than the national tour is calling,
100%.
and it's like tougher to set
100%.
in local tournaments than
Yeah.
it is on the AVP."
100%. And that
Uh,
I mean that's the tough part. It's like I think with the beach game, we're mostly you get ref by your peers, which
yeah.
means they can kind of call anything. And then obviously once you get to higher level, you get to higher level AVP, or international ball. I don't know if P1440 is still doing their thing, but you get into stuff where there's actual refs, the higher level, yeah, you get more consistency. But for the most part, you get refs by the people that you play against, so they call a lot of random
Yep.
things.
Man, even at
I
like
think we're one of the only self-ref sports.
we we run online classes for our camp, so we have a complete player
Yeah,
program, and we have 2 film meetings a week. So all the players, they
yeah,
show me what they did that weekend, their tournaments, their practices, or any drills that I gave them, and we do these film reviews.
yeah.
And we're still talking, no matter how many videos I make on Instagram or on YouTube, people are still talking about like, are you allowed to overset? Like, how long can you hold a set? And it drives
How
me
long can you hold
insane.
it?
I'm like, how many videos do I need to make to explain these rules
Yeah,
and to get tournament directors all on the same page? Like,
on
why
the
can't we
same
all be playing by the
page. Yeah,
same rule book?
right.
Because it is
No,
the
everybody
place that
sees
we
it
have.
completely differently.
Yeah, and then a tournament director or a facility owner, they're gonna make a different rule set because it'll just be easier for everybody. And it's like, well, now
Yeah,
you're just changing the rules to the sport, and sure, it
yeah,
might be easier, but everybody's just grossly confused.
yeah. I don't know anybody who's 100% sure about the hand setting rules. And then it's complete. Yeah, so and then it's completely subjective based on the way that you actually set the ball. So
Yep.
the way everybody sets is different. So the way you call their hands is different from somebody else's.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I mean, we're talking about hold, we're talking about finish, and we're talking about spin, which is
Mhm.
like a completely different conversation, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Worst part of our sport. And my
Exactly.
for everybody out there, if you're reffing, if you don't have a miniature vomit in your mouth because of the handset that you saw, just don't call it. Like
Yeah.
it has to make you so like, ooh, and immediately want to say that was bad. If you have to
Yeah.
like tip your head from side to side and think about it, stay out of it. It's better to
Don't
be the
do it.
one that doesn't call everybody than deciding these little marginal lines of where you're
Yeah.
going to call. And then now, as a ref, as a player ref, you're involved in the outcome of the game. And
Yeah.
so, as a rule, everybody just if it doesn't make you throw up in your mouth, just
Don't do
don't blow the
it.
whistle. Stay out of
Don't
it.
do it.
Oh, it's not worth it, especially if you're reffing my games,
Yeah.
because
Don't
I'll let
do
you
it.
know exactly that.
Less, yeah, less is always more. Like when I remember playing a lot of beach, and I'm like, man, I'm not really calling that much hands. Like it's got to be really bad for me to be like, yeah, that was for sure a double or a lift. I'm like, I don't remember calling more than a few a match or something like that. I just
Yeah.
didn't want to, didn't need to, you know.
It, I put my brim
Like
so
everybody's
low.
different.
I'm just like,
Yeah,
like unless I
like
hear like four people shout like, "Oh," then I'll be like,
yeah.
probably a double. I don't know. I wasn't
Yeah,
watching.
I'm not sure. Yeah, and I want like from your point of view, like is there for sure a number on that? Like, hey, how many times the ball rotates? Like,
Nah,
does the
can't
hand come out
can't
clean?
call on that. Like,
And that's what
has
I mean.
you can't look at the ball after it comes out.
Yeah,
You have to be watching the hand contact. So, like, you shouldn't be
yeah,
following the ball as a ref. You should be
yeah,
looking at the person's hands who are about to set. And if you don't see them hit it two different times or completely separately,
yeah,
then you don't call it.
yeah.
But like the
And
spin
that's
afterwards, be like, oh, it had 3.5 spins. So obviously, no, you cannot and should not call it on that.
yeah. And that's the funny part. I actually played. I don't know if you've been to the Vancouver Open up in Canada.
Still
Um,
haven't. That's
oh
kind of a
man, you got
bucket
to get up
list.
there. That's like that was one of the funnest tournaments I went to. But that was probably the most consistent refing I've ever received while
Well,
playing beach. Super
nice.
consistent. Like when I spoke to most of the refs, all of them were like, "We just want to see your hands come out clean," and they were not worried about the spin. And most of the refs that I've actually dealt with would definitely call the spin, even if it came out clean.
Ugh,
So
yeah.
that was the frustrating part. But in that Vancouver Open, like those reps were super consistent when I played.
Mm. I got just a little kind of ad for something. We're not even selling it, but guys, if
Yeah.
you're interested in seeing how well you know the rules, and you're listening or you're watching, it's on the screen right now. But if you're listening, if you head on over to betteratbeach.com/rules quiz, betteratbeach.com/rules quiz, there's a bunch of questions that we've taken sort of from the rule book, but we make it so that it's like you're talking in conversation and you can test your knowledge of beach volleyball rules. Go to betteratbeach.com/rules quiz. It's a free quiz. I made it so that we can help people and stop these like absurd discussions and stop all the requests for videos that we've already made. So go ahead, betterbeach.com/rules quiz and test your knowledge of some pretty intricate volleyball rules and actually how to call and ref a game. So rules quiz at betterbeach.com. Check it out. KJ, I want to
Nice.
switch from a setting discussion, which I didn't know we'd get into, to uh, I want to hear about your path coming out of high school into college, then the various national teams and the various indoor pro team. So coming out of high school,
Okay.
let's start there. You played a
Okay.
couple of years in college. How did that go? How did that come about?
Okay. So I'll run you through high school real quick, so it's like understandable of my path. Just like said before, I played football and volleyball. I played 3 years football, 4 years volleyball. Played freshman team, 2 years JV, 1 year varsity. Didn't actually end up
Oh,
starting
you
on
really
varsity
weren't good.
until
Yeah,
I wasn't good. I told you,
you're
like
not
this
lying.
isn't a joke. Yeah, like this isn't a joke. Like not at all. Like I wasn't. I was like one of the worst players, or maybe I was just above one of the worst players. So I got a lot of opportunities from my coach in high school, and he kept plugging away, let me stay in it. And like I said, I never played club volleyball ever. so I wasn't club and then high school. Um, but yeah, I didn't play. I didn't start until towards the end of my year in varsity. I played a lot on JV and freshman. Um, and I was not recruited out of high school by anybody. My high school coach knew the head coach at Long Beach City College. I'm
Mm.
born and raised in Long Beach, so
So,
I
but
ended
you're
up.
you're 6'11" right now. Is that right?
I'm 6'9". They
Six
like to
nine,
exaggerate.
6'11" on a
Yeah,
on a college or a pro roster. I got it. Yeah.
yeah,
uh,
six
how
eleven. They like to scoop some boards.
how tall? It's funny. Like when I started playing beach, I started making myself shorter. Like on my college, I was like, yeah, I might be 6'4". Like every time I beat somebody new on the beach, I'm like six
Yeah,
one, 6 foot and a half,
yeah.
5'11".
Defender style. Defender
That's right.
style.
Just rub it in their face. Like I don't. Yeah, I'd love to be smaller than you and still win. But how tall were you? Your high school coming out of high school? Because if you're 6'11" coming out of high school, like shouldn't everybody just be jumping over the bleachers to get you on their team?
Yeah, and like I said before, I was a late bloomer. I probably walked into high school around 5'8", 5'9", and I grew about an inch and a half a year, and I graduated at like 6'2", 6'3".
Whoa.
Yeah, so
Oh, you're
I
like Matt
wasn't.
Anderson. Matt Anderson was the same way. He came into college at like 6'4", maybe 6'5". When he graduated or
Yeah,
went to Korea, he was like 6'10".
exactly. He's taller than me. I played on the national team with him long enough. He's actually taller than me. Him and Max Holder taller than me by like an inch or two. They're legit
Okay.
like 6'10" guys. But yeah, I grew like inch and a half a year, 5'8" to 6'3" over my high school career. Went
Okay. So
into
yeah,
high
that's not like
school.
amazing for
I
a
mean,
coach. They're like, yeah, everybody's six
yeah,
three. Okay. All right.
yeah. I was a normal guy. Like I was average, so everybody said they can't do it. Like go work hard. But came out of high school 6'2", 6'3", and that was actually when I had my spurt during my freshman year at Long Beach City College. I grew from about 6'3" to 6'8".
Whoa. Did everything hurt? Like were
So
your knees just
yeah,
killing you? Oh.
yeah, my knees felt like absolute crap. Like my knees felt horrible. Feet were all of a sudden off the bed, like all that stuff. My body was going through so many growing pains, like 5 inches in a year. But that was when I
Oh.
hit my spurt, and then everything else kind of came with it, and like my vertigo came with it. And I was able to grow into my body. I was like 19 years old, almost 20, and that was when I started kind of figuring things out, and things started to get better. Super late growth spurt.
Dang.
But
All right. So
um,
okay, you got a spot at Long Beach City College playing, and then
yeah,
coach all of a sudden thinks he hits the jackpot after a few months of seeing you grow 3 4 inches.
I hit the jackpot with my coach. He was super excited. The basketball coach from Long Beach City College also reached out, wanted me to come over. I was like, "There's no way." I quit football. I was like, "I'm not conditioning anymore. I'm done with running."
Mm.
Um, and so ended up redshirting my first year. I played my second year, and during my redshirt year, we won a championship, which was cool. My second year that I actually started playing, we ended up, I think, losing in the semifinals, and also the same in my third year, we lost in the semifinals. I was, I think, Western State Conference, like one of the best players those 2 years that I played. Um, and then during that time, I played U21 for USA Beach for 2 of those summers, and
How did that
was
happen?
having a lot of fun with that. Uh, well, Chris. So Chris Austin, he was the guy who like ended up pushing me in the beach. Was like, "Hey man, like let's go play." And I was like, "All right, why not? Like
Hmm.
I don't have anything to lose. I got the time to do it." So Chris was like huge in the beach at the time, and I was like, "We could play together. Let's see what happens." And so we both actually did the USA Beach. I think he was under whatever 19s or something like that, under 20s, whatever it was, and I was U21. And so that was when I ended up meeting a lot of the guys who were really good in college. Connor Hughes at UC Irvine, and Tony Ciarelli at Long Beach, not Long Beach, at USC. I met
So many
those
people don't
guys
know
playing
that that
beach.
that Sarah Hughes has a brother who's also legit at volleyball. Like
Legit, Connor Hughes, the real deal.
legit. Yeah. That's a freaking athletic
Yeah,
family right
so
there. Yeah.
No, their whole family is huge. I know them well, and that was where I kind of met those players who were already like high level indoor college players, and that was before I even left Long Beach City College.
Mm.
So I got that experience. Did CBVA. We won. We got the AAA, which was super fun. And I think we actually got that AAA against Ian Satterfield, your partner, when we
Yeah.
were younger and in college. And I think we beat him in a double A to get the triple. So I don't think he was too happy about that. But yeah, that was when we were young. We were like 20 years old, and so I did that, and then I ended up getting recruited after my third year by Hawaii, Long Beach State, UC Irvine, and California Baptist University,
Mm.
and ended up not wanting to go to Long Beach or Hawaii. Long Beach was home. I didn't want to stay home. Hawaii was on an island. Didn't want to stay on an island. UC Irvine ended up not being able to make the grade. You got to have like a 4.0 to get into there. You got to be super smart.
Okay.
So ended up going to Cal Baptist because I knew I'd be able to play and I really liked the school. So I went there, um, and then ended up playing that year. Was one of the best players in the country, one of the best middles. I think I had probably one of the highest percentage, top five hitting percentages in the country that year,
Damn. Whew.
um, as a middle, and that was really fun. And I ended up getting injured my redshirt senior year, so that's my fifth year in college. I got injured, injured my back really badly, and couldn't play for 9 months.
Oh,
Um,
damn. Dude, we have the same similar
yeah, it
story.
was
I
bad.
I was out for 3 quarters of my season, my super senior year, and it was nothing hurt more. I
Yeah,
was like, this is not supposed to happen this year. Like, come on.
it's terrible.
Ugh,
Yeah, you're like, you're like, I'm supposed to go out like playing my best ball so I can do whatever I want afterwards.
right.
And yeah, it was a rough year. I was contemplating retiring because my back was really bad, and I ended up being able to kind of deal with it and get my back better. And I got lucky. They gave me a medical hardship year. I wasn't expecting to get that year back, but they gave me a 6 year. So I had a redshirt year and a medical hardship year, and came
That's
back
great.
came back my super duper senior year.
Super
I
duper.
spent 6 years in
It's
college.
tough to
Yeah,
leave
super
college,
duper
man.
senior
I mean,
year.
I'll, I'll stay 6, 7 years. That's honestly like when I was in
I
college,
was,
I
yeah.
didn't want to stay anymore. But now, if I had one more year, yeah, it would be fine. But I was ready to be done with college when I was done. So,
I definitely get that. I wasn't really in a rush because like I was always paying attention to like what the situation was after college, and I was like, am I in a rush to get to an office job? Trying to do like I have no problem staying in college longer, you know?
yeah.
So ended up playing that 6 year, that medical hardship year. And we probably had one of our worst years that I ever played in college. We only won a few games, and I was
Mm.
super disappointed. But I still played good. I think I was like top 10 hitting percentage, probably top 15, top 20 in blocks. And after my senior year, I got invited to the U.S. national team and
For the people who
headed in.
don't know how that works, like, could you explain the two things when you say that you just went to the U19 or U21 beach
Yeah.
national team tryouts, and then somebody invited you to be on the national team? Can you explain for somebody who had never experienced anything like that,
Yeah.
how that happened? Is it a phone call,
How
a
that
text
works.
message, an email? Yeah.
Okay. As far as the U21, U19, they actually had tryouts. So, me and Chris just went to the tryouts. They were like, "Yeah, we have USA beach tryouts. Go try out." And then I ended up making the team from the tryouts, the training team.
Okay.
So I was only on the training team for USA U21 for those 2 years, and then they would take two or four players for an international competition, the best players of that training group, and you would go overseas or wherever you go to compete in that
Mhm.
tournament. So that was a tryout. As far as the national team, I feel like you usually just get invited. So you go and it has a lot to do with where you play and your coach as well. So I had some coaches who had played high level, and they were helpful with kind of like plugging me in, like with the national team coaches.
Okay, so
But
they're the
you,
college coaches are kind of talking closely with national team coaches, and it should be. That's like the
yeah,
males in
yeah,
USA are breeding ground for national team players. So they're talking like,
100%.
hey, this guy's next level, or can be, or will be.
Yeah. And so also you got to prove it on the court. Like I also stepped on the court and was one of the best offensive middles in the country. I was okay with my blocking, a little bit better than okay, but as far as offensively, I felt like I was almost unstoppable as a middle coming out of college,
Mm.
and my numbers proved it. So people like knew who I was, and so I actually received. I think I was supposed to go after my senior year, but I ended up getting injured that year, so I ended up playing that next year.
Mm.
But I just received an email from the assistant coach. I think it was from Matt. Yeah, Matt Furbringer, who is also the national team assistant coach right now, and he runs Mizuno Long Beach Volleyball Club.
Oh, that's
But
right. I thought he
Matt,
had Rockstar for some reason. I don't know why I thought that.
it's
'Cause he's got a beach club
Rockstar is
too.
Mizuno.
Oh,
Rockstar is
okay,
Mizuno. So Mizuno is the girls' club, and Rockstar is the boys' branch off of Mizuno.
got it. Okay.
So they're the same thing. But and the funny part is, I actually worked with Mizuno when I was in college too. I was coaching like their little kids, so he already knew who I was.
Perfect.
So it worked out perfectly. But yeah, I just received literally an email that had went to my spam. So I actually received it like a few days before. And I just so happened to go
Oh
into
my
my
god.
spam, and the email was in my spam, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was so mad. Like it came like 2 days, 1 or 2 days prior, and like I reach out to them immediately. I'm like, "Yes, like I can come." And so they're like, "Yeah, come down."
God, can you imagine
So,
finding that like
oh
weeks
my
later?
God, man. I was like freaking out, man. I literally just finished my season two, probably like 2 days prior. Um, but yeah, that's basically the way the process goes. You usually get invited. If you're a junior player, I think you'll get invited, or you can go to a tryout, because you can check like the USA website, and they usually have tryouts for junior national teams, and it helps to get you into the system at a younger age. I wasn't
Mm,
really in the system for the indoor side, but I was on the beach side, so it was
okay.
interesting. But yeah,
All right.
I got
So
invited, and
just
I
phone
went to the
call,
national team
email,
after college.
and it helps if your coaches are. I mean, I feel like almost every college coach for the men's team, whatever it
Most
is,
of them
the
are.
national team coaches have to be connected with the NCAA coaches and have to have that open
Yeah,
conversation. And I think we're one
yeah,
of the few, if not only, country that we we source so many of our national teams or pro teams
yeah,
directly out of college. Like if you look at football, it's like, yeah, that
yeah,
is the minor league NFL. There's no
yeah.
other thing. Canadian Football League, nah, sorry. Like European
No,
Football League, you're
no,
playing for
no.
pizza. Yeah,
It's college. It's
yeah.
college. Your coaches know. Your coaches see you in practice. Your coaches see you in the matches, and they're like, "Yeah, this player is better than most players that are on our team and that we play against. You want to bring them
Mm,
in."
okay.
So yeah, that basically ended up happening, and I got invited to the national team. But I was just training. I had a lot of stuff that I needed to work on. I was a really raw player, just very athletic, and basically just went through train that summer, and like pushing through. I ended up playing professionally for 4 years. So I played pro volleyball for 4 years. Um, 2 of those years were in Finland, so my first 2 years in Finland.
Ah,
My
Joyner
third
played in
year,
Finland. Nice.
did he?
Yeah, yeah. I have no idea
It's
what could.
a
I
it's a
I
good spot.
played 2 years in Sweden, 2 years in Norway.
Yeah,
Joyner played in Finland. I think I know somebody else who played in Finland, but
we
yeah,
went and
there's
played a
some decent
team in
clubs. There's like
Norway.
one or two clubs in each of those countries that can compete, like
Yeah,
not with the rest of Europe, but with some of the
yeah,
other top European teams. And then when you get
the
to
top teams.
Italy's, Poland's, France's, it's like forget about it.
No way. No way. Yeah, they're the top teams. The two top teams in Finland were either like Tikati, um, Volleyball and Hurricane. Those are like the three top teams in Finland every year, and they usually play in like a Challenge Cup or a CEV Cup. I don't know if
Yeah.
you know about the cups,
Yeah,
but
I played in European Cup when I played in Croatia. When we
yeah,
went to Vienna. That was
yeah.
fun. 19-hour road trip, a little insane,
You
especially
guys,
when
you
your
guys got
coach
to
is
go to
like,
Italy?
we went from to Vienna, Austria, from Croatia,
Okay,
and we had to go to Slovenia, we had
yeah.
Slovakia, we had Bosnia Herzegovina,
Went there.
went up to
Yeah.
Austria, and it's just like these trips, and then we had a crazy coach who I brought my guitar because it's 19 hours each way. And he's like, "What are you
Yeah.
doing? You can't bring that. You have to
Yeah.
focus. We're here for competition." And I was like,
Oh
"You
my
want me to
God, man.
focus for the next 19 hours and do
19
what?"
hours, man.
Like,
Yeah.
I didn't get along with him too well.
Yeah, I know, I totally agree with that. I had some crazy coaches. My craziest coaches were definitely in Romania. My other two coaches in Finland and Portugal were pretty chill. One of my favorite coaches was actually in Portugal. Um, but yeah, ended up playing Finland those 2 years. And I play on a brand new team. I think we finished like seventh the first year, and then we finished like fourth the second year, which was completely unbelievable for a brand new like pro team to come
Mm,
into the league, you know. And then I went to Portugal, and I think we finished like third that year, and then I went to Romania. We also finished third that year. But we, like you said, like played in a bunch of different countries. Played, I don't know, Slovakia, Norway, Turkey. Um, there was just, I think we ended up going like six or seven countries. We went to so many countries. Just playing international. I played Challenge Cup in Portugal and Romania.
okay.
So we ended up traveling around. I think we went to Bulgaria. Um, and we were always flying to a different place. I went to visit Spain. So we ended up all over the place like you did. Um,
When
and then
when you think back to competing at that level for completely different cultures, completely different countries, completely different personalities, what was one thing that you took from that experience that you absolutely say no to? Like my team, or when I'm a coach, I will
yeah.
never do this, that you found out there that you
Oh.
like absolutely hated about a culture, a personality, or a coach.
I hated I absolutely hated how emotional my coaches were. It was so annoying. My foreign coaches were so emotional, and the emotional part would actually hurt our team
Mm.
because they would blow our timeouts so fast. It drove me insane. I I had I had this coach in Finland, and he was a cool guy. He was generally very calm, but in the
Mm.
match very emotional. And so he would literally blow. And here's the thing: did you have the what do you call it? The timeout, the timeout, the commercial timeout. Did you have
Like
that?
the technical, I think.
The technical timeout?
I think sometimes we did. I'm trying to think back now. We had to.
Yeah,
Man,
most of the time you have a technical timeout.
are you old when you
So
can't
that's like
remember?
a hey, it is what it is, man. I know that I feel like most teams had a technical timeout, and they would call it timeout probably like, I don't know, maybe at 15 or something like that,
Yeah.
whenever they call it. But my coach would consistently call both of our timeouts before we hit the technical timeout, and that drove me insane. Insane. I was like, stop. I would go to the coach and be like, stop calling timeouts. I was like, we need these for the end of the set. And
Oh,
he would get so frustrated because maybe we would lose like 3, 4 points in a row. And I was like, this is volleyball, man. It's ebbs and flows. Like this is how
mm.
it goes. And like we would like come back. Like we come back, go on 5 point run or whatever. And I'm just like, he would just blow the timeout. So that was one huge thing that I was like, once I'm coaching, that's not happening. Like I'm keeping my timeouts for as long as I can. I'm making my players push through those tough times where the team scores a lot of points in a row, but I'm not blowing the timeouts. I
Who's
need
it? John Wooden always said that he like guaranteed that he would never be the first team to call a timeout because he was like, I will
Yeah.
always condition my teams to the point where they never need a break before the other. And he always wanted to put the pressure or the belief. But when I read his
Yeah.
book, he said he would never call the rule of his. He would never call the first timeout in a game. And I
I
was like,
love that.
that's
I
interesting.
love that. I love that. Parents would have conversations with me about that. They'd be like, "You're not gonna call a timeout, or you wouldn't call a timeout in this situation." I was like, "No." I was like, "The players always play wonky in the first 10 points.
Hmm. Right.
There's
You're
usually
feeling each
always a
other
big
out.
run in the first
Yeah.
10 points." Yeah. I was
You're
like,
not
I'm not.
throwing
I
any
don't
punches.
call
You're
it
just
unless
like seeing how people
no.
move. Yeah.
Yeah, you're trying to figure it out. I was like, it's really got to be like 7-0, 6-0
Hmm.
for me to be like, all right, I'm gonna call a timeout. But otherwise, I'm like, if they went on a little 4 or 5 point run the first 10 points, I'm like, you watch a lot of like junior volleyball, you'll see like some team is down like 2-8 in the first 10, and they come back and win. They go
Hmm.
on big service runs. So like, it's very rare that I call a timeout
All right. So blowing timeouts. What was one thing from
early.
culture or from personalities, teammates, team, club, organization that you absolutely want to take to your teams, your clubs, your coaching style, you as a player?
um, Consistency, like just staying consistent with your training, and also um if I could bring in the weight training aspect, that was huge for me.
Mm.
I never consistently weight trained during a season until I went pro, and that would
What?
be one thing that I for sure want to bring in. Yeah, didn't do it.
Whoa.
Didn't do it. Like
Mm.
even when we played football, we would probably weight train like maybe once or twice a week in season.
Mm.
In volleyball, we only lifted like one time during season. In the pro season, we'd lift like 2, 3 times in a week, every week. Most of the time, like it'd be 3 times, and that was
Yep.
like really good for my body. Like physically, I felt amazing. I was like, I've never done this before, so that would be one thing that I liked and I'd want to take over. You know?
How did you balance for the best teams or your best year? How was the weight training balanced with practices? Did it matter what day you were practicing, what day you're lifting? Did it did you always say how's your body feeling and then change your lifting for that, or were you like Kobe where it's like no,
Yeah.
like I made a promise to myself, this is what I'm gonna do no matter what, no matter how tired, how hurt I am.
Yeah. I personally did. Yeah, I personally wasn't on the Kobe side. Like, if my body felt absolutely terrible, like I really wouldn't go and lift. And if I
Okay.
did, it'd be really light. But most of the time we'd have two a days, in our pro season. So in the morning you go lift, and then maybe you go in the gym and do a serve and pass for an hour,
Okay.
or maybe you would just lift, and then in the afternoon you'd have your evening practice. So
Hmm.
there was usually time to actually do both. Like you could get your lift in, recover, and then go and practice at night.
Yeah.
So I go 2, 3 days a week. Sometimes I go four. Like I was really trying to get like more strength because I've always been a skinny guy, so I wanted to get a little bigger. So I'd go
There's
more.
nothing else to there's nothing else to do when you're over
None
there.
else, dude. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
bored.
like
You're
I
pretty bored over there.
I didn't have a smartphone, I had like the little like flip phone that they gave you in the country
Oh
with the
man,
SIM card, and you're just like I think
seriously?
it was downloading movies. Yeah, so that's when I learned to love coffee. Like Sweden, all you do is sit around all
The
day and drink
foreigners are
coffee.
known for coffee all day. They drink coffee so like 5 times a day, man. When I was in Finland, man, they always were trying to get coffee. I was like, holy moly. I was like, I
Yeah.
drink like maybe a cup every other day. They were like, we gotta get 3, 4 cups of this coffee in, man. I was like, do your thing. I was
And those
like,
are the guys with
it
jobs. You're
works.
like, I'm playing
Yeah,
volleyball 3 hours a day, and then there's nothing else to do, so I might as well
nothing
stay here
else
and
to
have
do.
a fourth cup. Like,
Yeah, I'm not doing anything else until practice. Like, why not? You know?
yeah, it's wild.
But
Yeah, I
you're in
learned to
some
love
sweet
coffee out
spots
of
though.
boredom. I did. I was pretty lucky with where I had, like in Sweden, I was kind of in the middle of nowhere in
Yeah,
Vingåker. It's literally
yeah,
called Wingfield is the name of it, and the
love it.
70% of the town's power came from windmills. And people were
What?
like, "Wait, where do you?" Because when I say like, "Yeah, I play in Sweden," I play in the
Yeah,
pro league, and half of Sweden doesn't know that there's a pro volleyball league, and then they're
no.
like, "Oh, well, okay, what city are you in?" And I was like, Vingolka. And it always got the same Vingolka. Like, why are
Yeah.
you there? They literally said, why are you there
Why are you in
by
the middle of
saying the
nowhere?
name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you in the middle of nowhere? Any of the locals, they always know the location. They're like, why would you go there? They're
Yeah.
like, you came from America. Why would you do that? They'd be so mad.
Like, they're paying me to be here. What do you want?
Yeah.
And I
Did
get to
you
play volleyball all day and lift. Like, it's great. Ugh.
no. How'd you like Norway though? Because I went to play a team there and it was really nice.
I really love Norway. You know,
Norway's sweet.
the months that we're there, it's like you don't get to experience their spring or summer. So there's 5 hours of daylight the entire time you're there. So that
Summer.
it takes a toll on you. You know, it's cold, it's
Yeah.
snowy. But as a city, I loved Oslo. I thought Oslo
Yeah.
was just an awesome city to be a part of. Their public transportation system was easy, and I had a car, so it was like a
Amazing.
choice. Oh, it was, and it
That
was really
public
cool, and
transportation is amazing.
everyone there's happy. They're good. While I was there, they had an emergency surplus of money. So their government literally said, "Hey guys, we have too much money. We have to have an emergency meeting to figure out what to do with it." And I was like, "You don't hear about that in the
What?
U.S."
Yeah, no way. No way. We're always running out of money. We're out of deficit. Always.
It's
So
like,
that's
God,
crazy.
yeah. And I did
No,
snowboarding, I
I
did
went there.
skiing and stuff. So it was,
That's sweet.
yeah, pretty easy life. It's not a hardcore professional league. Like there are a few teams that
Yeah.
get to a level where they compete against the other countries, but our team was always like fourth in Croatia. We're like the top team in Croatia. But Sweden and
Nice.
Norway were hovering around like third to fifth or sixth, somewhere around there, depending.
I love that.
Yeah.
It it was yeah, I love Norway. I went on a trip. We went to play a team and they call it I think it's Forde. Like it's like Ford and then you add
Yep.
the E at the
Florida.
end.
Yep. Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went yeah, Forde, however they say it. And we went to play against them and they were like, "Yeah, we actually don't get paid. Like we all work in the city. We don't get paid to play." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Wait, y'all actually don't get paid?" They're like, "Nope." They're like, "We don't get paid." And they were in Challenge Cup. They were in a European competition. Like we
Yeah.
played against them.
They
It was
pride themselves so much on that club specifically. And
yeah,
Nyborg is also another club that's always, well, this is 10 years ago, I guess now, but they're always high up in the ranks, and like they're
yeah.
priding themselves saying like we do it without pro players. You know, every other team had
That's
somewhere between
wild.
like 1 and 4 pro players, but
Hmm.
they were they would recruit, they would take people. They're like, nope, we got the hookup with jobs, we got the hookup with
Yeah,
careers. So they would take players from other clubs, and they'd say, we'll give you a good solid
a
job
good
and you
job.
can play
Yeah,
volleyball.
that's
And they kind of
wild.
like that better because they didn't see volleyball as like an endeavor to like make money in
A
Norway if they wanted
career.
to stay there. Yeah.
Yeah, they want to stay.
So
So
yeah, it would be
I
kind of
get
like,
that, man.
you know, the pro league right now in the US, like the pro league, like they
It's like
could
that
do it
now.
that way if somebody had a
Yeah,
hookup with a company that had like easy, cushy jobs, and they're like, "Hey, come
yeah.
play for my pro team. I'm not going to pay you for that, but I'll teach you finance or real estate, and you'll
You
have
can
light
work in the
hours
shop.
and learn how to make money." So,
Yeah,
you know,
it's possible. I
it's
definitely could
possible.
see that. But yeah, I played those 4 years and overseas was amazing. Got to go to over 10 countries and ended up having pretty good finishes. And then so just to help people understand the way that it works with playing national team and pro. As you know, you go overseas for about 8 months, which is basically about the school year. So you go to overseas from fall all the way to like the end of spring. You come home for the summer. Was it like that for you too?
Yep.
Yeah. So you play basically you play a pro season during a school year, and then you come home in the spring, and you come home at the end of spring, and then you play national team during the summer. So during those 3 or 4 months. So I
Mhm.
spent 5 summers with the U.S. national team from 2014 to 2018, and
Dang.
ended up playing in like training mostly, but I played in USA VB Cups against Japan and Brazil. Um, played in the Pan American Games in 2015 in Toronto, Canada, and we played against a bunch of teams, Argentina, Cuba, Canada. Played against a bunch of teams there. Um, played in played in the Pan Am. I think I played in like one or two Pan Am Cups. One of them for sure was in Mexico City. Played against Mexico and Canada and a few other teams there. So I played in a few like international competitions, but they were local.
Yeah.
Um, and then after that, after my season in Romania, I definitely decided that I was like, all right, I'm good. Like I'm done playing professionally. Like physically, my body is like in a lot of pain. I'm definitely ready to shut it down and
I
transition out.
I had kind of a similar conversation. Like I was on my fifth or sixth cortisone shot. Um, I was like, my
Welcome.
shoulder wouldn't swing itself anymore. I was like throwing my chest and my
Yeah.
arm would follow, like in a very limp wristed kind of way. And I was like, man, I can't get any more juice. Like there's always like a different nagging
Yeah.
injury. And at the same
Uh-huh.
time, I was kind of pushing the envelope for AVP during the summers. And there are a
Yeah.
few guys who had done already what I had done, like Ty Trambly, Casey
Yeah.
Patterson. Casey Patterson played in Sweden before me. And
Really.
I messaged those guys before I knew their name. Well, before they knew
Yeah.
my name, I guess. And I
Hmm.
was just like, what made you stop playing indoor? Am I making the right decision? And Ty Tramby was like, well, I was tired of coming back every year. And the guys who I was beating last year are now beating me. He's like, all
Yeah.
these, I like beach better. And the people who are at the same level, they're getting more reps than me. And I'm just getting like kind of a little tired and beat up from indoor. And I'd rather be
Yeah.
better at beach, And
Hmm.
I'm just like,
Better
that's,
beach.
oh, there you go. Yeah.
Better.
See
Where's it? Where's your
that?
thing at? Is it over? Is it over there? Okay. Yeah. Better beach.
That was, but that was my kind of call. It was like, all right, body's it's breaking down hard, and I do love beach volleyball. And if I were going to have control over my future, which would I have
Yeah.
control of more? And I felt like I can control my destiny more through beach, and that was why I made the choice to stop indoor, I guess.
Yeah. And you played beach every summer, so you actually had the experience. You knew what was going on, so it wasn't a guessing game.
Yeah.
Um, and I I definitely was kind of deciding which route I wanted to take. But yeah, I had those same things. Like I still had the issue with my back that I dealt with in college, and I jump a lot as a middle, so knee problems, rolled my ankles a lot, like anything you can name. I had shoulder, tore the labrum while I was playing pro. Like had a lot of different injuries while I played, but I mean I'm one of the few people I know who's actually played consecutively for 14, 15 years. Like ever
Oof,
since my freshman year of high school, I never actually took a year off.
good for you.
Um, until I
But
finished
it's
my
like
28
pro
years.
athletes are healthy, right? Like we're supposed to be like the healthiest. It's like no, we're
Yeah,
the most
body is like
rundown,
body's
beat
40
up,
or 50 years
cripple.
old. Yeah, body's
Yeah.
50 years old right now while you're 25, you know?
Uh,
So that was like my indoor and then a little bit of beach. Just playing national team 5 years, playing pro 4 years overseas. And then came out of it and decided I wasn't gonna go overseas again. And so decided to start playing beach again with Chris. It was like right on time. We were like, yeah, let's commit to it. Again, like we did in college and see what happens.
mm,
And that was like one of the hardest years in transitioning for sure from indoor into beach full time. And
what was the
that
hardest part
that
about
year
it?
was a grind. Um, I'd say the hardest thing was one moving effectively in the sand because like
Mm.
balancing in the sand was probably one of the hardest things for me and getting down especially with my knees was like a headache.
So like
But
short
I'd
short balls and
say
stuff like that.
yeah, like moving around, jumping, getting low on the block, um, and then like passing was hands down probably the hardest skill to transition, and then making the little moves off the block was like
Mm.
a big thing for me, and I mean, and hand setting is a completely different beast. Hand setting is super tough. Um, but yeah, it was basically like learning how to play volleyball all over again. To be completely honest, like that was really how I could put it in a nutshell,
If
and I
you
had to
were
do
to
it in like a year.
redesign the training that you did, and you had to give yourself a 2-month block of what drills you would do the absolute most, because you could design it full outright, you have any number of coaches and players that you want, what
Yeah.
would you focus on in a short, fast amount of time that would get you as close to your peak as you could get in a 1 or 2 month period? Would you just do passing?
Um.
Would you just do setting? Would you do
Yeah.
sprints or agility?
Yeah. As far as the conditioning aspect, um, I didn't really like condition too much unless we kind of had it scheduled in because me and Chris stepped on the beach. You guys know we lived on the sand, so we'd step on the sand like 7 a.m. and walk off until 11 or 12 noon. We
Whew,
did that like 4 or 5 days a week.
damn.
Like it was full commitment. It was like indoor style commitment. Like we played sometimes 6, 7 days a week. Um, just trying to get ourselves in better condition, and then also just trying to make sure that we got as much training and touches as possible. But if I create a system for me personally, because I know my skills are different than other people's, I would have probably spent a lion's share of my time on passing and setting. Um, Serving was fine. Blocking was a little bit rough, but it was serviceable. And then offense was actually the thing that I came in with like not having too much of a problem with.
Mm.
And I heard that a lot of beach players, the offense was the last thing to transition. And for me, offense was like the first thing to transition over. I could walk on the sand and score.
I think what you did
So
well right off the bat that I think more people should probably do coming from indoor, you didn't try to create a beach offense for yourself. Like, I think some bigger guys or anybody who's hit, they're like, I'm on the beach
yeah.
now, so it's all about shots. And it's like, wait a second, you just spent the last 15 years pounding against
Pounding
2 and 3
balls.
guys. Like, why would you
Yeah.
try to like create a beach offense? Like, go like the guys from the Netherlands and just
Yeah.
detonate, And I think you
Yeah.
did that super well, and you were effective off the net, on the net, getting over guys, and you didn't need to do what so many people think they need. Oh, I need a cut shot. Oh, I need a consistent high line or even a jumbo. Like,
Yeah.
dude, if you're
Yeah.
above 6'6", don't hit a jumbo ever in your life.
Go hit, man. Go
Yeah.
hit. I always tell people that. I'm like, go hit. If you're hitting's your thing, like walk in, hitting. And that's the thing. Like I'm very if anybody knows me, we play against each other, you see me play. Like I'm very terminal with my offense and I'm willing to make errors, like trying to score.
Mhm.
So that was the thing that I always did my entire career, whether I played some middle or whether I played opposite. I went to bang balls. If the block was in front of me, I was okay with getting blocked. If the block was in front of me, I'm trying to either hit around or I'm trying to hit off the block to score. That was the most important thing to me. I don't want there to be any questions about whether I went to try to score or not.
Mm.
So that was the first thing that transferred over, and I didn't worry about it. Um, but to your plan, for sure, passing and setting, those were the hardest things for me to transition because I didn't walk in as an outside hitter who got to work on my platform my entire
Oh
life
yeah.
or walk in. And the thing is, like, I feel like personally as an outside hitter, it's hands down like the best indoor position because you have to do every single skill on the court. There's no
Right.
skill that you miss. Um, so working, like especially as a new player, like working on passing if you're not already a natural passer, and working on hand setting because hand setting is like so important. You need to be able to put the ball where you want to with your hands. The girls can get away with bump setting. I've seen it, and girls are hand setting more now, but
Oh yeah.
girls just have more. I feel like more natural platform control, so they can get away with bump setting their entire career. To be honest,
And I also
um,
think they kind of had to, like, from indoor as well. Guys were able to use their fingers, and I think that sort of transition
yeah,
happened where you see uh, females come out a little bit I'm not saying that they're worse at it. I'm saying they come out of college worse at it
Yeah.
because the ball is going straight at their belly buttons. For guys, a flat
Yeah.
float serve is coming across our eyes because of the height of the net. So we're used to like
Yeah.
using our fingers, grabbing it, and chucking it. So we might be slightly
Yeah.
better at overhand, hard-driven defense because we've done it so much,
Done it
and
our
they're better
entire
at
life.
platforms because man, they've been platform passing. You're not. I mean, some coaches don't even like let their girls use their fingers in indoor because they're just like use your
Heck
feet,
no.
get your platform on it.
Yeah.
So they're so good at passing and holding their angles.
Amazing. Amazing at passing. I trained so many girls and their platform passing is so much better than
Oh,
mine. They're just so very good control, understanding placement, how they use their platforms, very accurate.
mm,
And I mean, I don't think at the younger age, most girls aren't usually strong enough to use their hands anyway. If they do step up, a lot of
mm,
the balls go through their hands. It's not to be disrespectful. It's just how the game works. Hard flat serves go through hands if they're loose.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, for me, passing and setting were the big things, and then we got into like blocking. But that 2 month block for sure was a lot of passing and a lot of hand setting because those are to me those are the most important skills. Um,
Can't do anything
and
without them. Like
like
without those, doesn't matter
exactly,
how
you
good your
can't do
defense
nothing.
is, doesn't matter how good your block
Doesn't
is. At
matter.
some point, you're gonna need to convert.
Yeah, you gotta have that platform. And so like with my hitting, I came out, I was like, I'm gonna hit. Like I don't care, I'm gonna hit and I'm gonna deal with the consequences or successes of that. Later on, like once I got a few months in and I understood what my hitting could do, I actually only would train shooting. So I'd only
Mm.
train high line, jumbo, cut shot, all the stuff that you said. I would actually only come into training and work on those things because I knew that I could step into the game and bank the ball.
Hmm.
So
I would, man,
it's
get
for
rid of your
me.
jumbo high line. All right, but like I would call your high line just like slap over a block. I wouldn't even call it a high line. I would never tell you to hit a high line. I would say
It wasn't
slap over
high.
a block, and then I would just say
Yeah,
like hit sharp cross. Like I wouldn't even call it a cut. Like
yeah.
hit sharp cross or slap over them. If you're
It
six
was
two,
yeah.
you're six
That's
foot,
what
you're
it really
5'5".
was.
All right, now you need a high line.
You need all those things.
Yeah.
You're playing against bigger players. So I want to I understood that as beach and as you know, you must be completely well rounded because your opponent will eventually find your weakness, whatever that weakness is.
Yeah,
They
we'll
will
have to.
find it. So I would always go into training trying to work on my weaknesses. I would go in and be like, I'm not hitting a ball today. I need to pass every ball. I need a handset off of all your passes. Stuff like that. To where I was like, I need to shore up all my weaknesses. I need to learn how to do the turn off the block and still be able to make a dig on a roll shot right next to me. Stuff like that. Beach is a game of pushing to have zero weaknesses. That's just how it is.
I like that. I like that. Cool. KJ, man, this was a good talk.
No
Good
doubt,
talk.
man. No doubt. It's
Yeah.
been good.
I want to know how our people, how, when, and where our people can find you to take some lessons because I know you're doing a lot of lessons, a lot of coaching. You got a great Instagram that coaches
Thanks,
on
man.
its own. So, how do we find you? Where do we follow you?
So if you're just looking for my regular personal account, it's Chris AJ1. So it's just like my name, KRISAJ1. That's my personal account. And then if you're looking for my business account, you can go KJ Volleyball Coaching, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. It's all the same name. It's no guessing game. KJ Volleyball Coaching. And luckily, since there's nobody who creates a name like that, I have it in Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And then
Nice.
my my website is generally attached to each one of those, but it's Kristopher A. Johnson. If you want to reach out or anything like that, that's my website where I book my lessons and things.
Cool.
So
And where are
that's
you
everything.
coaching? With like when people fly into California, this is who they should
Oh
find.
yeah, that's a good question. So I actually
We're global,
I
baby.
coach most. Yeah, we're all over the place. I like that. I know you're all over the place too, Mark. You coaching everywhere. So I'm based in Orange County, so I coach in like Anaheim and like Irvine area, but I also come down to South Bay, so I come down to El Segundo and Redondo Beach, and I coach indoor as well. So I coach indoor in South Bay and in Orange County. And then if you want to do beach as well, I coach in both of those places as well. I do both. I just get it by request, so I'm all over the place.
Awesome. If you
No
think
doubt.
that you have a specialty, like something that, man, trust me, I will get you better at this, and I
Yeah.
this is what I will hang my hat on for the rest of my coaching career. Like, what would somebody go to you, and what would you fix in my game that you would just knock
Um,
out and that you actually love and enjoy to coach and teach and break down?
to be completely honest, it's definitely passing. I get so many liberos and outside hitters that it's absolutely insane, and they all come to me to train passing. And passing was the thing that I need to work on the most. So actually, I studied passing the most. I talked to the most people about passing, seen passing the most. That's the thing where I'm like, all right, I'll hang my hat on teaching you how to pass. And then the side note is hitting because everybody knows that I freaking hit balls. So
Yeah.
you want to come to me, yeah, like the side note is hitting. Like I get a decent amount of people for hitting, but I get a lot of phone calls from parents who are like, we need to do libero outside passing, and I've helped a lot of people become a lot better at passing. So that's the thing I hang my hat on. Secondary is hitting, which is funny.
Nice. That's awesome. That's great. Yeah.
No
All
doubt.
right, guys, you heard it. So, hey, guys, if you're in LA, if you're in Redondo, if you're in Orange County, California, or if you just want to reach out and get some advice from him, you can hit him up at KJ Volleyball Coaching on pretty much all social
So,
media. And he just gave you the open invite. So don't be shy about sending any messages. Uh, and, dude,
hit me up.
great talking to you. Thanks for the convo.
No doubt, man. Mark, thanks for having me on. Like, really good show around here. Really good podcast, sandcast, however you want to call it. I see all your videos, man. Like, better at beaches, growing big, man. You got like 50 plus thousand followers now, and I think everybody likes what you're doing. So keep doing your thing. It looks big. I like it.
Appreciate that, man. Well, hopefully we'll get another 50,000 thanks to you being on the podcast now.
You got, man. You'll get it for sure. Thanks for having me on.
Love it. All right.
And tell
Later. See you
Brandon
on
I
the
said
beach.
hello too.
I will. I will.
All right,
We're,
man.
well, we're, we've been plotting how to get you on our next 6-man team. So we'll you'll be getting a
You
text
got
early
some work
early
to
next
do,
summer.
man.
Yeah.
You better send it as early as possible, and I'll see what I could do.
All right. All right. Put it. Just keep us on the short list.
We'll do.
All
All
right.
right, man.
Later, KJ.
Peace.
Nice, guys. What a cool episode that was. It's always fun to hear people's different paths, right? So me and Chris, we both played indoor, we both played beach, and we had completely different paths. And one of the things that I'm always telling everybody is you can learn from somebody who is at the same place as you, because when in order to get to the same place, you can take an infinite number of paths, which means that you see, you experience, you learn different things along the way to get to that final destination. So even though you're looking across the aisle at somebody who may have played at the same level, similar level as you, they have different things that they can teach you, right? Because they've seen different things, they've had different coaches, and they can use different keys. And the more I kind of train leaders and coaches, the more I learn from my coaches, the people that I'm training, the people that I'm guiding. I want to learn from them because I know that they've seen different things. And that's a really cool part, I think, about these conversations and this podcast that we have, is that we can learn from each other because we've experienced different things, and we've seen different part of the games or came into it at different points. So really great conversation with Chris. um, yeah, I don't know what to say other than that. But guys, if you ever want to find us for clinics or camps, just remember that we have about 20 spots left in each of our camps this fall and winter. So they might be sold out by the time this podcast gets released. But if you're listening live, definitely head over there. If you're looking for any skill courses All you guys need to do is head on over to betteratbeach.com, click on that little button that says online courses and coaching, and know that if you want your game to be looked at, your strategy, your skills, your lifting technique, we're there. We meet twice a week with you, and we actually work on your film. So you can choose to just get our membership, which has all of our skill and strategy courses, or you can choose the upgraded membership, the complete player program, where we literally work with you twice a week on Zoom calls, and we are studying your film, your technique, your videos, and giving you guidance. And would love to have you as part of our group. If you're listening live on October 1st, our 21-day Athletic Foundations live course kicks off. So if you're looking to start lifting and getting in great shape this fall, we're starting on October 1st. We're doing a live group where we have a 21-day fitness and nutrition challenge. And you can learn all about that by checking out betteratbeach.com/foundations. And if this is a popular course of ours, we have 53 practice plans, all with videos and minute to minute laid out practice plans. And you can always go ahead and download that at betteratbeach.com/practice plans. But aside from that, always reach out. Better at Beach Volleyball. You can find us on Instagram, or you can just send an email to support at Better at Beach and reach out. We'll be happy to hear from you and any questions. And if you think that there's anybody that we should have on the podcast, or maybe you want to be a guest yourself, go ahead and reach out. We would love to hear from you and make our scheduling lives easy. All right. Hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for listening, and we will see you on the sand.